Taking a turn now to Washington, where the Senate Judiciary Committee is meeting to hold a vote to advance Judge Ketanji Brown-Jackson's Supreme Court nomination.
That's right. A tie vote is expected along party lines. This would force a procedural vote to move the judge's nomination along to the full Senate. The measure is expected to pass. Democrats are eyeing a final vote before the Easter recess on Friday. All 50 Democratic caucus members are expected to vote yes, all but assuring Jackson's confirmation. So far, Senator Susan Collins of Maine is the only Republican to say she will vote yes. Judge Jackson is on track to become the first black woman to sit on the Supreme Court. She would join the bench over the summer after Justice Breyer retires. Joining us now is CBS News political reporter Caitlin Huey-Burns. Hi, Caitlin. Great to see you. So give us a rundown, if you will, of what we can expect to see this week as Democrats try to get that final vote on the books.
Hey, Tanya. Well, spoiler alert, Judge Ketanji Brown-Jackson is likely to become the first black woman to sit on the Supreme Court. She has the votes necessary to be confirmed. But the question is, what will this process this week look like? So we have the committee vote today, and as you mentioned, that is likely to come down to a 50-50 split. You may ask, well, don't Democrats control the Senate? Why is there going to be a split on the committee? Well, because there is an even 50-50 split, Democrats and Republicans made an agreement, a power-sharing agreement, which has both sides having equal representation on these committees. So what will have to happen is Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has to invoke a procedural mechanism to allow a vote to proceed, even if it is a tie in the committee. So she'll get a procedural vote, and that will be interesting to look for whether we get any clues about other Republicans that might be inclined to support her. People that we're eyeing, of course, you mentioned Susan Collins, who says she's going to vote yes. We're also keeping an eye on Lisa Murkowski. She's a Republican who voted for Ketanji Brown-Jackson when she was appointed to the district court. We're also keeping an eye on Mitt Romney, who has said that he is not going to announce yes or no until the vote actually comes. But he's someone that a lot of people have been watching. So we expect a confirmation of the judge, but how we get there will play out over the next couple of hours here.
Yeah, and Caitlin, how we get there is also an indicator of where we are as a country. If she's confirmed, she'd replace Judge Stephen Breyer, who was confirmed, I believe it was 87-9 in his Senate vote. That was a bipartisan vote by the dozens. And now we're talking about maybe one or two Republicans who might vote yes. Different time and place. Those bipartisan votes seem to be a relic of the past. But in terms of the recent past, how does what's happening here with Judge Jackson compared to Democrats and their refusal to vote for Justice Amy Coney Barrett just a couple years ago in 2020?
It's a really interesting point, Tony, and I went back and looked at all of the votes, and you're exactly right that we've seen kind of the breakdown of bipartisanship when it comes to a Supreme Court nominee. The last time we saw bipartisan support for a nominee was 5 years ago with the nomination of Judge Gorsuch, but with Brett Kavanaugh, with Justice Barrett, those were on party lines. And that's, I think, a big theme coming out of this hearing. Again, we know that she is going to be confirmed, but the whole process, the questioning over the past couple of weeks, you could really kind of pull apart the midterm election strategies and messages from the Republican side and from Democrats, quite frankly, also who want to rev up the base ahead of the midterms. Republicans focusing on things like crime and other items that they want to make election priorities. But there was a really telling quote earlier this morning from Lindsey Graham, who said that, look, when Republicans, if and when Republicans take control of the Senate, you can expect that there will be fights. He said that he wouldn't have allowed, he wouldn't have made it so that Justice, or soon-to-be Justice, I should say, Ketanji Brown-Jackson would even make it before the committee. So looking at the polarization of the Senate, the way in which these confirmation hearings, which historically had been bipartisan until the last several years, they are gearing up for fights ahead, and especially with these razor-thin margins of control. These midterms, you can bet, are going to put a big priority on the judicial nominations.
Yeah, it's an amazing state of affairs. One of the reasons for rejecting a no vote on Judge Jackson offered up by Republicans is her judicial philosophy. At her testimony, she said she has no philosophy. She has a method, and that method is neutral. But even that does not pass muster in today's politics. Caitlin Huey-Burns explained it all for us. Caitlin, thank you very much.
Thank you.